Hello, all. This is Ny, and you are listening or watching to the Bible Reading Podcast. Sorry, series. Podcast is on my mind. Genesis 34, King James Version. And if you have not watched the first video, please do so for at least the disclaimer. But start off proper. Lord's Prayer, Matthew 6, 9 through 13, King James Version. After this manner, therefore, pray ye. Our Father, which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us of our debts, as we forgive our debtors. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory, forever. Amen. As I said, Genesis 34, King James Version, header here, treachery of Jacob's sons. And Dinah, the daughter of Leah, which she bare unto Jacob, went unto see the daughters of the land. And when Shechem, the son of Hamor, the Hivite, prince of the country, saw her, he took her, and lay with her, and defiled her. And his soul clave unto Dinah, the daughter of Jacob, and he loved the damsel, and spake kindly unto the damsel. And Shechem spake unto his father Hamor, saying, Give me this damsel to wife. And Jacob heard that he had defiled Dinah, his daughter. Now his sons were with his cattle in the field, and Jacob held his peace until they were come. And Hamor, the father of Shechem, went out unto Jacob to commune with him. And the sons of Jacob came out of the field when they heard it, and the men were grieved, and they were very wroth, because he had wrought folly in Israel in lying with Jacob's daughter, which thing ought not to be done. And Hamor communed with them, saying, The soul of my son Shechem longeth for your daughter, and I pray you give him to wife. And make ye marriages with us, and give your daughters unto us. Take our daughters unto you, and ye shall dwell with us, and the land shall be before you. Dwell and trade ye therein, and get your possessions therein. And Shechem said unto her father and unto her brethren, Let me find grace in your eyes, and what ye shall say unto me I will give. Ask me never so much dowry and gift, and I will give according as ye shall say unto me. But give me the damsel to wife. And the sons of Jacob answered Shechem and Hamor his father deceitfully, and said, Because he had defiled Dinah their sister. And they said unto them, We cannot do this thing, to give our sister to one that is uncircumcised, for that were a reproach unto us. But in this will we consent unto you. If ye will be as we be, that every male of you be circumcised, then will we give our daughters unto you, and we will take your daughters to us, and we will dwell with you, and we will become one people. But if ye will not hearken unto us to be circumcised, then will we take our daughter, and we will be gone. And their words pleased Hamor, and Shechem Hamor's son. And the young man deferred not to do the thing, because he had delight in Jacob's daughter, and he was more honorable than all the house of his father. And Hamor and Shechem his son came unto the gate of their city, and communed with the men of their city, saying, These men are peaceable with us, therefore let them dwell in the land, and trade therein, for the land, behold, it is large enough for them. Let us take their daughters to us for wives, and let us give them our daughters. Only herein will the men consent unto us for to dwell with us, to be one people, if every man among us be circumcised, and they are circumcised. Shall not their cattle and their substance and every beast of theirs be ours? Only let us consent unto them, and they will dwell with us. And unto Hamor and unto Shechem his son hearkened all that went out of the gate of his city, and every male was circumcised, all that went out of the gate of his city. And it came to pass on the third day, when they were sore, the two sons of Jacob, Shimon and Levi, Dinah's brethren, took each man his sword, and came upon the city boldly, and slew all the males. And they slew Hamor and Shechem his son with the edge of the sword, and took Dinah out of Shechem's house, and went out. The sons of Jacob came upon the slain, and spoiled the city, because they had defiled their sister. They took their sheep and their oxen and their asses, and that which was in the city, and that which was in the field, and all their wealth, and all their little ones, and their wives took they captive, and spoiled even all that was in the house. And Jacob said to Shimon and Levi,
Ye have troubled me to make me to stink among the inhabitants of the land, among the Canaanites and the Perizzites. I being few in number, they shall gather themselves together against me and slay me, and I shall be destroyed, I and my house. And they said, should he deal with our sister as with an harlot? That ends the reading portion. In short, Dinah leaves the household to go meet with the daughters of the land. Someone, Shechem, the son of Hamor, the Hivite, he decides to defile Dinah. And Jacob notices this and is silent. However, his sons meet up during the time that Hamor and Jacob meet up, and they are rather angry about all of this. So they devise an idea. They tell them, well, it is not right for our daughter to be with an uncircumcised individual. So how about you circumcise yourselves, and we will consider ourselves one people, and we will trade with you, and you will trade with us, and we will take, marriage between the two of us. And they see this as a good thing. Shechem and his father Hamor, the Hivi or the Hivi, depends on so they move on, and they do as they're asked. In fact, they tell their people, the whole group. So this word Hivite is the people begat from Ham. If you remember back earlier on in the chapters, and he was there was a bit of a problem between him and his father Noah, and so Noah kind of puts a curse upon them. I'm kind of looking at that as like the fallout of what you have done will be such. And so these individuals, they follow suit. Well, puts them in dire straits, which the two sons of Jacob, Shimon and Levi, which, let me see if I can get the phonetics right. My mind is not remembering that one. Levi, they decide, it's great time. We know this. We know these feelings. And they go and they essentially slaughter this whole village and take for themselves the wives and the cattle and everything. And then at the very end, Jacob looks at them and goes, what have you done? You have just made me, and it says, stink among the inhabitants of the land. However, I think it's like you've made me unacceptable among other people, and they're going to come against me. And I am a few of number. Like, who am I? I couldn't even stand up against my brother if he came against me earlier on, which he thought, and that's not what happened. But the point is, now I'm against the whole world, essentially, in his mind. And then they say, their retort is, what should we have done concerning this? So we'll move to the commentary here. Dinah, the daughter of Leah, whom she had borne to Jacob, went out to look among the daughters of the land. Here we see how they maybe implicate Leah as not so honorable of an individual, which I'll just read it. Not the daughter of Jacob. However, because of her going out, she was called the daughter of Leah, since she, Leah, too, was in the habit of going out, as it is said, and Leah came forth toward him. The straightforward of this is that because Leah was not faithful to Jacob, or dressing as not very good, her daughter does the same, and therefore this all happens because she does that. I don't see that in the story in the slightest. I see Dinah, who ironically, if you listen to the other ones, came out of her trunk finally that Jacob had put her in, that so that Esau wouldn't have taken her as a wife, goes out to the daughters of the land. They're in short, there's commentary that says that Dinah was placed in a trunk when Jacob met up with Esau so that he would not take her as a wife. And this was counted folly to Jacob. And then in this commentary, it says that if this hadn't happened, Esau would have taken her as a wife, and this would not have occurred. Therefore, Israel would be clean of this. However, there's some things that I see are a bit inductive, I guess, in that commentary in my mind, and less deductive. I see this as she's genuinely going out to be with people in the land, which I don't see any cause for concern here. I think that's I mean, at the time maybe there could be cause for concern of things like this happening. However, I mean, why would you assume that it would happen in the first place? Maybe reading into it. But moving on, and Shechem the son of Hamor, the Hivi, the prince of the land, saw her, and he took her, lay with her, and violated her. Lay with her in a natural way, but violated her in the sense that it was an unnatural way. So being intimate with her inappropriately. Yeah, probably won't get to the Rava there on that one. His soul cleaved to Dinah, the daughter of Jacob. He loved the girl and spoke to the girl's heart. Okay. And spoke to the girl's heart. He spoke seductive words. Look how much money your father squandered for a small parcel of land. I will marry you, and you will acquire the city and all its fields. Maybe. That is one way to read this. However, there's another way. And I guess my take is he did this thing and his soul became one with Dinah. And because it did this, they became one. He loved her. He cared for her. His heart changed. He did something wrong, yet the outcome of this thing became good. And so he wanted to right his wrong. I'll explain as we go on how I come to that conclusion, but goes on and says, and Jacob's sons had come from the field when they heard, and the men were grieved, and they burned fiercely because he had committed a scandalous act in Israel, and to lie with a daughter of Jacob, and sought out not to be done. And such ought not to be done. To violate virgins for the nations, the general population had refrained from illicit relationships because of the flood. I'm going to backtrack just a little bit here to a point, and it is something that it doesn't actually comment on, and I'm not sure why. Let me just double check that it doesn't say it here. It's hard to keep everything in order in my mind sometimes. Here it is. Jacob kept silent until they came home. In the Rabbah, I found it very interesting that it said this, because it refers to Proverbs 11:12. Jacob heard that he had defiled Dinah his daughter, and Jacob kept silent. What is it? That is what is written. But a man of understanding will be silent. I think that's very important here. Something that is reoccurs a couple times before this and other chapters, if you've listened all the way through, is that God comes down, and they speak about that as a you must take everything into account before you judge, is what it's referring to. And I think in this moment we've seen a change in Jacob. From the time in which he was young and he was deceptive to this moment now, and he is seeing what's happened to his daughter and he is silent. I could, realistically thinking, he might be silent because he's extremely mad about what just happened. He could be silent because he is trying to evaluate all things that are going on to figure out what exactly happened, because maybe he hasn't heard exactly everything, and maybe Dinah was implicit in this or at fault in what happened. But what all we have here is Jacob kept silent until they came home. And in the Proverbs it says, like I said here, but a man of understanding will be silent. So we see what a righteous man does here. He remains silent. But his sons on the other hand, and Jacob's sons had come from the field when they heard, and the men were grieved, and they burned fiercely because he had committed a scandalous act, as read before. And such ought not to be done, to violate virgins for the nations. The general population had refrained from this illicit relationships. Okay, they say that during the time period between the flood and now, illicit relationships hadn't happened because they were so fearful of the flood happening again. There's that possibility. I'm going to lean into the world is not always great. Things happen. I mean, I have a hard time with this one simply because what happened between Lot and his daughters, which could be considered illicit relationships. So it's difficult for me to lean into this idea. It is possible, however, we'll keep moving on, and Hamor spoke with him, saying, "My son, Shechem, his soul has a liking for your daughter. Please give her to him for a wife." He has a desire. There's a good bit written on, what this all means, but it all comes down to the fact that he, in the simplest way that I could say it in our current vernacular would be, he loves her. Impose upon me a large marriage settlement and gifts, and I will give as much as you ask of me, but give me the girl for a wife. So he's saying, tell me what you want, and I will pay all of it. Marriage settlement, Ketubah. Thereupon Jacob's sons answered Shechem and his father Hamor with cunning, and they spoke because, after all, he had defiled their sister Dinah. With cunning. Means with cunning. I'm not even sure I didn't look this one up. In a deceitful manner. That's what that word means. However, somehow, we come to this point and it says, because after all he had defiled. Scripture states that this was not trickery, because after all he had defiled the sister. I'm just going to... I try not to do this, but I flat out disagree with this. Because it says right here, with cunning, and then when I look up that word, it means deceitful. To simply say that this one is now not that because of this action is like two rights making a wrong, in my head. However, let me backtrack and give, maybe there is something that I don't see here, outside of this, but I can't be, I don't know if I can come to the agreement, not that I can't be, but I don't know if I can come to the agreement that this statement is because they weren't being cunning when it says distinctly here that they were. And they said to them, "We cannot do this thing to give our sister to a man who has a foreskin, for that is a disgrace to us. For that is a disgrace to us. To us, it is a defect. If someone wishes to insult another person, he says, 'You are uncircumcised,' or 'You are the son of an uncircumcised person,' whereas this is mentioned in an expression of an insult. I'm going to start trying to do this a disgrace. So that word can mean disgrace. It doesn't mean that it's always that. There's always contextual pieces, but at least in the quick, Google Translate, it means disgrace. Okay, this is true in part. This is where it becomes really problematic, in my opinion. And what I mean by that is, this thing that they're about to ask them to do is a symbol that God gave them of remembrance. This is a part of a covenantal agreement, a statement of what is between them and God. And now they're going to use that thing as not only insult, but also to do what they're about to do, which is disrespectful, in my opinion. With this, however, we will consent to you. If you will be like us, that every male will be circumcised. We will consent to you. We will consent to you like an expression. The priest consented in connection with Jehoiada in 2 Kings 12:9. Will be circumcised. Literal is to be circumcised. This is not in the act of voice, but in the passive. So I believe this is past, if I remember correctly. Oh, to circumcise. Yeah, so in the past. Let me remove this because that might actually... Oops. Oh, it's backwards. That's right. Oh, no. Spending too much time. Yeah, so past act. To be circumcised. That is not in the active voice, but in the passive. Then we will give you our daughters, and we will take your daughters for ourselves, and we will dwell with them, with you, and become one people. This is another... not to continuously bring up this concept of at one ment, but it is bringing you within inside of us, you will essentially become Israel, which I think is a desirable thing. Not to say that what they're actually saying right now is wrong. And here's the confusing part: is what they're actually saying is per se proper. I mean, it is you will become one of us, and we will take from you, not take forcibly, but we will have wives with your daughters, and so on and so forth, and we will trade with you. I mean, do as people who are one would do. Then we will give. So this here. Oops. Not sure. And we give, yeah, the literal serve instead of, so they're saying this just to make sure that it says that then we will give, and we will give, and we will take your daughters for ourselves. You find in the stipulation that Hamor suggested to Jacob in the reply of Jacob's sons to Hamor that Hamor and Shechem attached importance to Jacob's sons, allowing them to take whomever of the daughters of Shechem they would choose for themselves, and their daughters they would give to them, the people of Shechem, as they, the sons of Jacob, wished for. It is written, then we will give you our daughters as we wish, and we will take your daughters for ourselves, whoever we wish. But when Hamor and his son Shechem spoke to their townsmen, they reversed the matter. We will take their daughters for ourselves as wives, and our daughters will give them in order to appease them. I don't see that. Maybe I'm doing a little bit of a historian fallacy here, where I'm looking back and thinking that people should act in the way that we act now, and so on and so forth. I think when they say we will give you our daughters and we will take, it's not a forcible thing. Like I'm not forcing the daughter on you and taking forcibly for ourselves. Could be, but what this is implying is that when they went back to their people to pronounce this thing, they were saying that if we do this thing, then we will just take for ourselves whatever we want. In that regard, as for wives, which moving forward, and these men are peaceful with us, and they will dwell in the land and do business there. And the land, behold, it is spacious enough for them. We will take their daughters for ourselves and as wives, and we will give them our daughters. This is just a reverse of what what they said, but nevertheless, here, this portion here. The land, behold, is spacious, is important to me. But these men are peaceful with us. So it opens up. They come back to their people to make the argument that we should join with them. And they say, they're peaceful with us. So they have been, they've fallen under the thought that these individuals are peaceful with us. They only ask us of this one thing. And the land, behold, is spacious enough. The metaphor is that of a person whose hand is wide and generous. That is to say, you will not lose anything if they trade here. Plenty of merchandise comes here, and there is no one to purchase it. Yeah. So we get two things. These people are peaceful, so there's no ill intent. And then the land that we have, well, there's plenty enough land. I mean, they might as well come in and make for themselves a life. And we will, be together in this. That is why I think that it's a little bit disingenuous to say that they came back and said this, in my opinion. Just in my opinion. However, only with this condition will the men consent to dwell with us to become one people, by every male among us being circumcised just as they are circumcised. Just being circumcised. Then shall not their cattle, their property, and all their beasts be ours, but let us consent to them, and they will dwell with us. But let us consent to them regarding this matter, and thereby they will dwell with us. Now it came to pass on the third day, when they were in pain, that Jacob's sons, Shimon and Levi, Dinah's brothers, each took his sword, and they came upon the city with confidence, and they slew every man. There is part that, and I spoke about this before in other chapters, the sword sometimes references multiple people, so this may not be as miraculous as we want it, but it could be as well. So I'm just going to leave that as a possibility. Jacob's two sons, they were his sons, but nevertheless, Shimon and Levi conducted themselves like other people who were not his sons, for they did not take counsel with him. This is, in my, I'll say the rest and then I'll read the rest and then I'll speak about it. Dinah's brothers, since they risked their lives for her, they were called her brothers, and with confidence, because they, the townsmen, were in pain. They were confident in the strength of the elder Jacob. So the two sons, they acted in accordance of people that were not his sons. So I'm going to read this because I thought it was interesting. Shmuel asked Levi bar Sisi, he said to him, "What is that which is written, and came upon the city confidently?" He said to them, "They were confident in the strength of the elder. Our patriarch, Jacob, did not want his sons to perform that act. But when his sons performed that act, he said, 'What will I allow my sons to fall at the hand of the nations of the world?' What did he do? He took his sword and his bow, stood at the entrance of Shechem, and said, 'If the nations of the world come to confront my sons, I will battle against them.' That is what he said to Joseph. 'I have given to you one portion, Shechem, beyond your brothers.' Where do you find that our patriarch Jacob took his sword and his bow in Shechem, as it is stated, which I took from the hand of the Amorite with my sword and with my bow? Hamor and Shechem his son, as a consequence of the actions of Shimon and Levi, who killed Hamor and Shechem. Jacob took up his sword and bow." We see the consequence, the fallout. The desire of the father is not the desire of the son. And this leads into the fact that now Jacob has to defend his children for their actions. This is a very, very, very common trope inside of Scripture. Many people look at what follows in the biblical verse as, and we haven't even gotten there yet, but there is a possibility of this argument being true, that God is just going and telling people to be a warlord. And I don't follow that because of this right here. Early on, his sons do something, and he proclaims at the very end, as I read before, because of the consequence, I stink amongst the world. We see that nowadays. We see that now. The actions of the sons cause this to happen. And what is the only action to be done but to defend his loved ones? I mean, he loves them. What else is he supposed to do? We would almost question him for not doing something. So, moving on, Jacob's sons came upon the slain and plundered the city that had defiled their sister. Upon the slain, to strip the slain, meaning to take of it, and their flocks and their cattle and their donkeys and whatever was in the city and whatever was in the field they took, and all their wealth and all their infants and their wives they captured and plundered, and all that was in the house, all their wealth, their money, and similarly amassed wealth. This word, interestingly, means dream, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, dream. So if we take that, and it means money and similar and things similar, the wealth of them, but what they dreamed of, like they took away from them their future, if you will. They captured, a term denoting captivity, therefore the ancient accent is on the later syllable. Thereupon Jacob said to Shimon and Levi, "You have troubled me, to discredit me among the inhabitants of the land, and among the Canaanites, and among the Perizzites, and I am few in number. They will gather against me and attack me, and I and my household will be destroyed. You have troubled me." Let's just look at this word here real quick. If you're watching, you see what it is, but for those that are just listening, the word here means you have been pregnant. An expression denoting murky water, meaning that now my mind is not clear without worry. The Aggadah explains the barrel was clear, but you have made it murky. As an example, I saw our way clear to coexist with the Canaanites, but now you have spoiled the possibility to do so. The Canaanites had a tradition that they would fall into the hands of Jacob's sons, but they said that this would only happen until you are fruitful and inherit the land. Therefore, they have been silent. Few in number, few men. Interestingly enough, from all of this, the thing that has become, you could say, an impregnation is the idea of what they just did in the world, into the world, I should say. They beget what will happen to them because of their action here. Where what it should have been, I saw our way clear to coexist with them, and that is now spoiled. Peacefully. It could have been peacefully. And they said, "Shall we make our sister like a harlot, abandoned?" This argument here is an interesting one to end on, because I'm not sure exactly what to do there. That phrase there is "give it to our sister-in-law." It's that's a tough question. However, I think the only course of action that could have kept all of this from happening would probably have been just to forgive, which is not an easy thing. Like I'm not saying that like pedantically or trying to decrease what exactly happened. But really the only way to keep this thing going, clearly, as he says, clear to coexist, would have been not to do that. And we saw that in the prior chapter to this, when Jacob meets Esav. I mean, he could have literally prepped himself for war and then, faced his brother. And what would have come about of that, So, this, in my opinion, I think is a great moment in which we see the fallout of being dishonest with those that we are around, and then what becomes of it, right? And whether or not we want to argue, this, shall he make our sister like a harlot? Like, yeah, it's a fair argument, but I mean, there's nothing good that comes of that, in the sense of like taking action in such a way. So not I guess maybe not to continue with that. Hopefully this was interesting. It's always for me. It's always interesting to see these different viewpoints and why it's so. We have such diverse approaches to this. But thank you so much for listening to the very end, and I hope to see you on the next one.